Hi everyone, this is Ed from Soloed Quest and welcome to another board game review video for Zatu games. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Detective, a modern crime board game. So these are my impressions on Detective. Full disclosure, this is a spoiler-free review. I will not be spoiling anything from the base game, from the cases. I will be showing you the components, but I won't be spoiling any of the details on any of the cases, okay? So feel free to watch the review. You will not be spoiled in any manner about any of the cases, okay? So be sure that you can watch this without being completely spoiled. But yeah, now moving on to my impressions on this game. Now, Detective, a modern crime board game, is in fact a modern crime board game. So things have been stirred up in the board game department by this game, definitely, because this game uses a lot of technology, and it makes you use technology. You really have to have either a laptop or a tablet or even your smartphone, and because you will have to go online to play this game. That is a necessity, okay? So yeah, that might, for some people, might be already a turnoff. There are some people that really dislike games that are based on apps and that require you to use an app. This one is not an app. You will just have to go on a website, which is the Antares database, and I'll show you the Antares database in a little while, just to get you to show you exactly what you will be doing in that database. The game is on board game format, okay? You will play it on your table. The database is just a little, I don't know, it is a necessity, but it's just an extra for you to get information to solve your case. And in terms of this case, it actually makes sense, and I'm glad they actually did it, because it really ups the experience, in my opinion. So in Detective Modern Crime board game, we will be playing the roles of, you guessed it, detectives. We will be solving 5 cases. So there's 5 cases in this in the base box. Well, you will be solving each case independently. The clues for each game will be on each of the case on each. Sorry, the clues for each case will be on each case deck. Specifically, okay, these are case decks. This is case number 1. This is no spoil, okay? This is the card you will be facing as you open your box. Each case will have this little front card which tells you which case it is, and then all the juicy stuff will be behind this this card right here, okay? All of the clues. So this is no spoil. So yeah, you have 5 of these decks, and you will be solving them individually. All the clues that you will be asked for at the end of each game will be related to this game, to this case alone. Of course, things will then, there is a meta plot, so things will start to sound familiar as you go from case to case. You will definitely recognize names you've seen before or heard of. You'll definitely recognize, well, persons' names, companies, places, events, dates. Things will start to match. And yeah, your mind will definitely remember those things and go, hey, maybe this is connected to something else I've seen before. And it probably will. In that game, this game replicates being a detective amazingly well, in my opinion. So we are detectives. We will be using both the clues that we have on the board game and then on the Antares database. So basically what will happen is, let's say we're starting this case. This is just hypothetical. I'm not spoiling anything. Let's say that this is case number 1, the man with the golden watch. Let's say you are starting the game, so you pick up the case book, which will have an introduction to the case. It will tell you the story, why you are investigating this, and what do you need to find out during the case. So let's say, for example, this was not the man with the golden watch, it was the man with the golden retriever. I don't know. And it tells you, hey, go into the, you have like 4 options for clues when you start the game. You can go into the dog house, I don't know. You can go into the veterinary, and that's like, veterinary is card 150, dog house is card 110, or you can go into a pet shop that was visited recently by the owner, which is card 180. And so yeah, you will have those options, and you are starting the case with those possible clues, and you will have to decide which clues you want to follow. So you have a little map. You can be in your headquarters, which is where you usually do your research on the computer, stuff like that. Then you can go on the field, which would be the pet shop. So you will be running around the town. There's 5 locations you can run around from. You will take 1 hour to go from location to location, and that's the resource you will have to manage, is your time. So as we are detectives, we have a regular day, just like everyone else. We don't have an infinite amount of time to investigate. So let's say the case tells you, hey, you have 3 days to investigate this case. So on each day you have 8 working hours, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, you have 9 hours around-ish. They could give you more or less, it depends. So you'll have around those 9 hours, and then you can do some overtime. But yeah, you will have to manage your time. That's why I love this aspect of the game, because while the game gives you chances to follow clues, you will not be able to follow every single one of them, and that is amazing. You can usually piece things together as you are following from clue to clue, and things are very well done, because you will have really to do detective work. You will have to pick on little details, string together different information to kind of go in the right direction. Because if you go in the wrong direction, you're wasting hours in the day. You won't have the necessary hours to see the actual useful information, and you will then have to solve the case with the lack of a lot of information. So you will have to do a bit more of I don't know, guessing, not guessing, but intuition, let's call it like that, while you are trying to do your guesses. So yeah, that's a very important factor. You will have to manage your time very, very, very well, and try to follow the leads that take you in the right direction. Yeah, but you will do that with those clues. Like I said, the casebook presents you with the starting clues, but then it opens up completely. Let's say one of the clues was to go on the database and search the dog's owner. So the card will tell you his name. You'll search it in the database, and that will give you information about him, which will eventually might lead to more clues. So in the database, his name could say, hey, he used to have other 3 dogs, and they were registered with these 3 names, and you'll have one of the names being a clue, and you can search then for each of the dogs, maybe what happened to the dogs, something like that. This is just completely hypothetical, okay? These dogs are not in the game. That's the only spoil you have. You won't have a golden retriever. But yeah, that's mainly how the game works. So one card might open up a whole bunch of other clues that you will then have to follow, either on these cards, which have a lot of text, or on the database itself. And speaking of the database, I would love to show you how that works, just so that people don't be put off immediately by it. Even though it's a necessity, it's not it's not complicated, and it's not a super heavy element in the game. So yeah, let's take actually a quick look at the database. Okay, so this is the Antares database. This is what you will be greeted with. As soon as you log in, you need to register yourself, and then you log in and you'll get this welcoming message, or not. Well, this is kind of like the campaign selection. For now, you have campaign number 1, the Mystery of the Golden Watch. This is the campaign you get in the base game, but you also have a standalone case, which is case 6, Suburbia. You can get this case in Portal's online store. You could also download it if you pre-order the game. You could get a digital copy of this 6th case, which is in fact should be your first. If you do have Suburbia, you should play this one first, because it's kind of an introduction, a tutorial into the detective's mechanics. But yeah, as soon as you enter, you are greeted with these campaigns, and I'll just guide you very quickly through all of these menus of the Antares database, which will be vital to your investigation. So let's have a closer look at all of these options in here. Okay, so when we do log in into the Antares database, this is the screen we are greeted with. So this is a bit more clear for you guys to see. So you do have to select your campaign number 1, the Mystery of the Golden Watch, and then which case you want to start in. So, well, when starting the campaign, of course, you're going to start in this one, the man with the I don't know what's a man with the golden watch. So you have a little welcoming message here, and then yeah, you're good to go. Now it's not like the game is played in the computer in this database. No, you do have your components on the table, which you will see in the video as well in this review. But this is kind of a help. It kind of replicates the database of a police agency, I guess, where you can look up clues, you can look up for DNA samples, you can look up fingerprints, that sort of thing, and even personal files. So what you do here, I mean, this is pretty cool. You'll have cards that will indicate you, well, that you can search for a certain name. So you can go into personal files, and there you go. You can select either the name, the file. If, let's say, there's something archived in the police records, that specific clue will tell you, hey, look up file number, I don't know, 61. Or if you're questioning someone, you'll be able to see the records of that questioning. It'll say search questioning number 20. Or in terms of name, you want to see the records, the police records for some suspect that you want to look up a little bit further. You'll have the name, you can look up that name as well, and these will be other type of clues. So you do have quite a few options in here. This is mainly for information that you will then be able to access in the database. And as you gather these and you'll come back into the files or the personal files, all of them will be kept in here. So you will have a little list of every single suspect you've searched, and you can compare information and go back and look up a little bit better on the clues you've gathered, and maybe try to go on from your findings, I guess. And then you also have this little bit here for signatures. This is the DNA samples bit, I guess. So SD, I think SDs, yeah, these are for fingerprints mostly. SD, fingerprints. I hope this is clear. I try to make it as clear as possible. What else do you have? You have DNA samples as well, and material samples, stuff like dirt that we may find on a crime scene, or I don't know, a piece of glass, maybe a footprint or tire tracks, stuff like that. So you will have these three samples that you will also put into your database. If that fingerprint was already in the database, and let's say, I don't know, this is just an example, I'm not spoiling anything. Let's say you found the fingerprint on a, I don't know, what, I don't know, what can I think of? Camera, I don't know, like a photograph camera. And then eventually you were on, and that camera was on the crime scene. And later on, when you are trying to solve the crime, you can actually try to get fingerprints from your suspects to compare them with the fingerprints on that camera. And you will have like a comparison in here. You will have the fingerprints from the camera and then fingerprints from, I don't know, John Doe, number 2, and it'll try to match and show you the percentage of how much they match. Okay, so you can kind of link clues, link DNA that you found in crime scenes, and link them with suspects that you may have. So this database does get used for that. So yeah, this is pretty much what you will be using it for. Again, this is not the main game. This is just to help you out, but it is essential. You do need to have this so that you can look into personal files, into files which are very important, that show you records, I don't know, older stuff that is archived and not on the computer. It'll show you the questioning that in some cases is very important as well, and the DNA, which is again vital to have a good score actually. So yeah, this is the Antares database. You'll be going around through this in each of the cases, all of them. And it is pretty essential, and it will be also used then for the final report right here on the bottom, which will, if you click, you should finish your game. Are ready to see and answer questions for the case with the golden watch. So this will be the screen where you come and get your score. It will present you with a few questions about the case. You don't know which questions you will be asked, so it's good to have a thorough investigation while you are playing the game, so that when you are presented with the questions here on the database, you can answer them well, to the best of your capabilities. So yeah, that is the Antares database. So now, well, back to the physical ad and for the rest of the review. Okay, so that was the Antares database. You will be using that quite a bit during the game, but again, it's just an extra to build up the experience. Because for me, the strength of this game is the experience. This is one of those games, you're not playing a game, you're doing an experience, for sure. I mean, it really absorbs you into the investigation. Things are very, very well thought of. I mean, people will probably compare this to older games like Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective. I've played that game. I like it, but I mean, this is a huge a huge step up, let me tell you, in terms of absorbing people into an investigation. I don't know. I haven't tried Chronicles of Crime. I can't compare it to that one, but this one is more meatier for sure, from what I've heard. Which is also, it's a good and a bad thing. For me, it's pretty good because, I mean, clues make sense. I don't know how to explain this without spoiling things. As you are reading the cards and you are thinking, where should I go? I mean, you are really stringing together events. You're stringing a sequence of events, a sequence of information that you have been gathering. So going from one clue to another makes perfect sense. You're not going from one place to another one that has nothing to do with it. No, you are really going through a line of thought, and you'll feel really rewarded once you get to some clues award you these little tokens here, which are your authority tokens, these blue stars. They kind of tell you, hey, you're going in the right path, and you'll feel really rewarded when you get these. You're like, yes, I managed to solve this. I'm going in the right place. My line of thought was correct. So it really rewards you in being a good detective and doing good detective work. But that good detective work has its cons, because you will have to work hard to do that good detective work. It's going to take a while. My main concern with this game is the playtime. So each session, this has 5 cases. I would say, just to be safe, I would say that each session is about 3 hours. I think I took one a bit longer than 3 hours, another one shorter than 3 hours, but I would say the medium playtime for each of the cases is 3 hours. And I would strongly advise you not to pause the game and come back on another day to continue the same case. You should definitely do a case in one go. Just go the 3 hours all in a row and try to solve that case. So in that sense, it's kind of an event that you will have to really have. I mean, some people might just, have those game nights a lot of times and play for quite a bit, but this is going to take all of your game night time for sure. Because you will have to be concentrated. You can't just play this, lightheartedly. That's the thing about the game. If you really want to put yourself into this experience, you have to know what you're getting into, but then it will be very, very rewarding. So the game doesn't, and Portal games, the way they communicated the game, they were always very honest about it. This is an experience. This is more of a serious game. You are doing a serious investigation, following leads. You are really going to be absorbed into this experience, and you are going to feel like you are doing detective work. But it will cost you time. Okay, you must know that in advance. That if you are going to get into this and you want to get into this, you're really gonna get into this for 3 hours, and I do not advise you to leave a case and continue it on a different day. I would also not advise you to let's call it the campaign. It's not, but let's call it like that because there's kind of a meta plot in here. I would not advise you to do each session with a huge gap of time in between them. That's also another con. So let's say you play case 1 today and then case 2 like 2 weeks from now. I don't know, if you separate them with 2 weeks each, 2 weeks might be okay, but 3 weeks you'll forget a lot of stuff, and some details might be very, very important, especially on those last cases. So that's kind of a con, because not a pro for sure, because the game kind of forces you. It doesn't force you, but the way it is done, you have to play it pretty close. Each session will have to be a little bit close to one another, and since it's 3 hours for each session, some people might be really put off by that. So that I'll leave you with that warning. Okay, if you don't think you wanna force yourself to be playing this for 3 hours and in kind of small gaps between sessions, then I advise you not to get this game, because you'll feel forced to play it and then you won't really enjoy it. But if you don't mind and you really like this kind of stuff and the investigation aspect in games, I mean, it's hard to be any better than this. This is very, very good. It's very well done. There are amazing aspects to the game. I really love a lot of stuff on it. One, I love, again, how you won't be seeing all of the cards, because you will have a limited amount of time. You will see a limited amount of cards. You will see about, I would say, half of each deck, maybe a little bit more than half. So you will have to get your conclusions out of about half of what the cards say. Okay, so again, you will have to be a detective, follow the right leads, and pick on the right information and link it to form your responses at the end of the game. So that is really, really cool. Another thing I like, you guys won't be just random, you won't be yourself in the game. You will have, well, there are characters in here. And each character has a special ability, so it's one character, one agent from the Antares into each player, and that character will have an ability. Now, these abilities are triggered by those blue stars that I showed you, the authority tokens. They usually use these authority tokens to use that ability. But let's say there are all of these Antari agents. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I thought there were more. So you take, let's say that we are 2 players. You take 2 agents. You guys select it, and all the other 4, they will also be involved in the case. It's like they were kind of helping you guys out, and they will provide you not with their ability but with tokens to help you out. So let's say this guy, Henry Barnes, he's a retired cop, and he provides us with 2 of these file tokens. So that's one thing I love about this game. You have a few tokens in here, so you have these file tokens. I guess he's good at getting archived information, and you can use these tokens to help you out with those aspects while you are playing. You have a token with a magnifying glass, you have one with a dialogue bubble, you have one with a password on a screen, which is like electronics in hacking into stuff. So basically what these are used for is, while you are playing the game, let's say you're the one with the password, you logged into a computer at a suspect's house, but it's encrypted by a password. If you wanted to flip the card and see what's in the computer to try to hack it, you would have to spend one of these tokens. Now, if you had the token, you just spend it, you flip the card, you manage to hack in the computer and you get that information. But let's say you didn't, you spent this token somewhere else doing, I don't know what, hacking a soda machine, I don't know, something random. Well, then you won't have this token to enter that guy's computer. So you will have to manage this as well. This is another resource. It's not as important as time, but it will be very important as well. The way you manage tokens and the way where you spend them, because they are not coming back on each. They're coming back from case to case, but on one single case you have that pool of tokens, and that's it. You have to use them on the leads you really think are worth digging into. That's another aspect I love, because I mean, you can spend them maybe at the start, you're not getting too many clues, you're like, this trail is going cold, I mean, what do I do? Let's start spending a few tokens. But then when you get to the end of the case, that happened to me. There was a super vital information that at least I think there was a very vital information on the other side of the card, and I didn't have a token to use it because I spent it on something else. So yeah, that's frustrating in one way, but in another way, it's really, really cool, because you can't do everything. You can't do everything in this game, and I love that. If I were to play this with someone else, things might go a different way. I mean, the conclusion is always the same, yes, but the cards you actually read and the tokens, the situations where you use your tokens, those will be different. You will get different conclusions, different informations, and I really like that. The manageable side of things put into a detective board game. That's something that Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective lacks, because it's just text. You're just picking up a book, you're reading a paragraph, and that's it. You're going from paragraph to paragraph, just reading stuff. There's no I don't know, no touchy feeling to the game. This one has a lot of that. That's something I also love. Now that I just threw in the comparison, in Sherlock Holmes, you have a book and you're reading from paragraph to paragraph. If you want to go back and pick up on some information, you can, but it's bothersome. You have to go into the paragraph, find the page. It's kind of bothersome. In here, you have the cards. As you resolve them, you have a space on your board for resolved cards and unresolved cards, which are the ones that you were able to flip on the other side, yes or no, if you use the token. But even if they're unresolved, you have them right here. You just need to pick up the card. It's so easy to access past information, maybe to try to find something you didn't manage to find on the first time you went through all of those cards. So it's very manageable, very easy to go back and pick up clues. In that way, I really like it. And yeah, there's what else can I say about the game? I mean, I think that my only con is no. I have another con. So one is the playtime and the little gap that you should have between play sessions, and there's another con. This one isn't so big as because the first one is forced on you. If you space out your playthroughs for too long, it's going to be bad. So it's kind of forced on you to play the game a bit on the shorter side of things. But the other con I would say is the flavor text on these cards. So I mean, it's a very involved experience. As I said, you are really absorbed into this. You are really absorbed into the case and how each clue is presented to you. It's very, very well done. But one thing I don't like, and I think it's too absorbing in that matter, is the flavor text on these cards. So let's say I was going to the veterinary to get a file on the golden retriever. Boy, there's going to be a flavor text like this big for an information that is this size. I mean, there's going to be a flavor text telling me, oh yeah, you just went and the Rottweiler started to bark as you enter the veterinary, which then alarmed, I don't know, a Chihuahua that ran away and bumped into something. The air smells like dog urine. I don't know. There's going to be like a big description that it might not be very interesting, I gotta say, for someone who has been in here for 2 hours and a half. I mean, you're going to be okay with the flavor text at first. It won't matter because you're beginning, you're pumped, and yeah, let's go, let's do this. Yeah, this setting is cool, but as you are, absorbed into this like 2 hours and a half, it's going to be a bit too much. And I, for myself, didn't have the patience to then read all of the flavor text. I would kind of skip it at the end near the end, I would skip that flavor text. So that's a bit of a con because it's really big. I think it's too big and too, too heavy on details. It could be a bit more interesting. Maybe if it was a more interesting flavor text, I would actually read it, but it's more of an ambience thing, setting the mood of how the environment is when you get there, how people react to you getting there, but that doesn't really matter to the case. I know that, I mean, it's a good thing that they went into the trouble to doing flavor text. It's not just you reach the veterinary, you found this clue. Of course, that would be just a dry experience. But this is a bit too not dry. It's on the other opposite. It's a bit too moist. I don't know. So I wish they had thinned down those flavor texts a little bit. But again, you can skip it. So it is a con, but it's a skippable con. So it's not as bad as the 3-hour sessions. But yeah, well, the 3-hour sessions, again, it's not bad. I don't mind them. It's just know that this is the game. The game, it presents itself in that way, okay? It doesn't try to say otherwise. It doesn't try to say it's a light game, a party game, something you'll play with your friends casually. It's not a casual game in that sense. But yeah, apart from that, I love the game. I love how it integrates the Antares database. I think it's a very successful integration. I don't like that. Well, the app, if it was an app, I don't know if the app would be playable offline, now that I think of it. My main gripe is that you have to be online. You have to have a computer or a laptop or a smartphone or a tablet, and you gotta have internet. While I was playing, while I was playing this campaign, I had to go somewhere where there was no internet. So I had to do my smartphone be like a Wi-Fi router, giving internet into my laptop so that I could play the game. It was kind of bothersome, but I managed to do so. The internet wasn't fine, but I still managed to play it with the database, so it's not that heavy in that sense. It was playable, so I did manage to play the game and finish it. It was okay, but I don't know what's going to happen one day when, I don't know, if Portal ceases to exist, God forbid it, but what's going to happen to this website and to people who had this game? I mean, that's the issue with app games and website-based games. there might be the day when they will stop functioning. Well, that's an argument you could have with legacy games as well. You play them once, they're done. Yeah, sure, you could say the same about this. You play it once, it's kind of done because you've seen the story. So you're not like you're coming back to it anytime soon. I might in like 5 years from now, where I probably won't remember all of the clues. But again, yeah, it's a fear that people have about these app games and website-based games. But I think it's very much worth the experience. I mean, the price point is very good on the game. So I think it's totally worth that experience. It's a big jump from stuff like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. It integrates board game with technology very, very well. It simulates detective work very, very well. The investigation is super fluid. Everything made sense, and you felt rewarded at the end. It was pretty cool. That last case was a bit crazy. I can't spoil anything, so I can't really talk about those details. But yeah, I totally advise you to check out Detective. It's very high on my games from last year. I really, really enjoyed this experience. And yeah, if you are curious about it, you can find it in Zatu Game Store. You'll have a link in the description. And yeah, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I hope you guys check out Detective, a modern crime board game. It's certainly worth to have a look of. See you in the next video. Bye bye. Have a good one.